because they're because they're spam.
There's a wide variety of motivations why people do this. Sometimes it's commercial interests.
Spam, where they're trying to sell things that are a little bit dubious, right? Or, sometimes it can just be to capture more of the user's clicks. And that's not right. That site is not getting those links organically. It dilutes the value of that signal. It makes it even harder for us, and it makes it harder for users to find great information.
It's a very, very hard problem because the people on the other side are very motivated to succeed, and they're smart too, and they have resources, and they're working on it also. Like, we saw one part of it, and they adapt and they do something else.
And that's the reason that we keep Google's search algorithm a very closely guarded secret. Recipe for Coke level guarded secret.
Because if we talk about our search signals too much, then people will manipulate them. And that breaks search entirely. Fighting spam is a cat and mouse game. It's not something that I think will ever be solvable.
As an example, 40% of pages that we crawled in the last year in Europe were spam pages. This is a war that we're fighting, basically.
So yeah, people at Google hate spam, which is one of the reasons they're always making changes to search, to keep spam out of your results and to keep high quality information in.
Okay, so you've got the search engine and it's working. And by all accounts, it's working better than any other search engine has worked before. And every day you see millions of queries. And clearly users are happy. But as an engineer, you ask yourself, how can I make this better?
Time out, this shit froze. It got fucking frozen, man.
A ton of opportunities.
Man, gameplay, what's up with
that? Over a period
that?
of time, the developments
I can't move, man.
have had a dramatic impact on how well it actually works.
So with that shit, man.
No, I don't think we had that particular problem, even though we've launched a whole series of changes over the years that have, I think, meaningfully and materially improved the search result sets. I'm here to tell you that search is far from a solved problem. In fact,
there's actually no end in sight in terms of when this will actually be solved. Because the world keeps evolving, we're coming up with new devices, we're coming up with new ways of interacting with information, we're coming up with new information sources like videos and so on, that are adding in new opportunities as well as new challenges.
Oh my lord!
Users have changed what they're searching for and how they
search. They did something weird. I don't know what they did, man. But I wasn't in the game. Come down.
15% of the queries we see every day.
That's when you school. That bomb. Like, I can't move.
And we're going to need to constantly evolve. It's a little bit like Red Queen says to Alice in Alice in Wonderland. You need to run as fast as you can to stay where you are.
Fucking frozen, man. It's the gameplay at, man. Freezing up in here, man.
We don't actually think we have good results. The idea is to add friction for the worst of the worst results to start with.
We changed the search algorithm on average 6 times per day. It's actually really frequent. However, to get to those 6 launches per day, roughly, a couple of thousand launches in a year, we're doing 200 to 300,000 experiments. So the vast majority of changes that we think about making, that we might try, actually fail.
Imagine you have a smart engineer on the team, right? And they come to you and say, I've got this great idea on how to improve search. And you talk to the engineer, then they come back a little while later and say, okay, I've got the change, can I launch it? And you're like, no, you can't launch it. You've got to prove that this is actually good.
Proof comes from data. Data comes from experiments. Side-by-side tests where results from the current version of Google Search are compared to the proposed version. If the proposed version gives better quality results, aka links to better quality websites, then it gets closer to being put into production, which is a fancy way of saying actually in use by people around the world. Which brings up a question. Who decides what makes a better quality website?
Those people that we ask the question of which is better, A or B, are known as search quality raters.
The people at Google aren't deciding what's a good result from a bad result. People at Google aren't determining what results to show for any given query, but rather the raters are basically teaching our computers what's good and what's bad. Is this a high quality result? Is this a low quality result?
And they are trained on what are called our rater guidelines.
The Search Quality Evaluator Guidelines are a 168-page document establishing what makes a good search result good. We're talking about websites exhibiting expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. These words are given clear, detailed definitions so that thousands of independent evaluators keeping an eye on search know what they're looking for. Want your website to show up higher in search? Read the guidelines. Seriously, they're publicly available, and the more people that read them, the better the web could be for everybody. All right, let's get back to Ben.
Making changes to search is a bit of a balancing act. There are many different things you're trying to balance together. Quality, freshness, relevance, but we also have to balance the performance. Some ideas may be really good, but they may result in search that takes a lot longer. So we have to be careful that we are not making search slower in the process of giving you slightly better results.
In some ways, the key innovation effort.
Yeah.
And what about latency? Does this infuse new latency, or did this still moderately produce it? Right? Yeah, I think the 10 milliseconds or so.
Seems like a reasonable trade-off for this level of win.
Yeah.
Right.
From when we first started, really we were focused on how can we make search run very fast so we respond more quickly with better results to more people every day, every week.
I did a search a couple days ago. Complicated thing, 0.03 of a second. I mean, it seems inconceivable you can do all that quickly. I guess that's...
We are about finding the world's information and bringing it to your fingertips the second you ask it. In fact, less than 0.5 seconds.
Man.
Seems incredibly difficult, and yet that's an area that works reliably 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, around the world. But how are you going to look up an index that goes to the moon and back several times in a fraction of a second?
I don't know, Ben. Maybe we should ask the expert. This guy you saw earlier, this is Urs Holzley. He manages the technical infrastructure at Google. This is Urs Holzley in 1999, when he also managed the technical infrastructure at Google.
My first business card actually said search engine mechanic because my job was fixing things that were broken. And the problem was hard because really everything was broken and it was just about fixing the thing that's most broken. To people, sometimes the internet seems kind of like it's nowhere. You know, I'm using my phone and then here's wireless and I don't really see anything. But when it comes to the search engine, when it comes to the data center, these are really physical, big machines, so to speak. A data center actually is conceptually very simple. It's a building with lots and lots of servers. And that's really it. So in Dublin, we have one of the data center campuses. It's actually one of the smaller ones.
I think it's the smallest data center we have.
We're considered the baby data center of the fleet. We're quite small.
Quite the snowflake.
Actually, this is quite big. For any other company, this is bewildering. This is not a thing.
This is Philip, Kevin, James, Daniel, Petra, and the crew we hired to film. And this is where they and all their coworkers work. The Google Data Center in Dublin, Ireland.
The scale of what we do here can be kind of crazy.
Millions of searches a day goes through those machines. That's why they're very loud and they produce loads of heat. That means they're constantly working, constantly answering your queries.
And so how do we really store the web, so to speak? The way to think about it is we take the internet, download it, index it, and chop it into small pieces. And then each server has a small piece. All of these servers for that data center work together to each search their little part of the internet.
And it literally takes millions of servers and hard drives to be able to support the world's website.
So each of these data centers has a complete copy of the web.
So if you're in France or if you're in South Africa, you're not sending a query that goes through the wires, underwater cables, and comes to Mountain View, ask that question, then we send it back. That's just not possible. That's never going to work as a solution that's fast.
How it actually works is you go into Google and you type in a search. then we direct your query to the data center that is closest. And so that's actually the reason why we have data centers everywhere. Because we
ain't fucking listening. Where they going now? Where they going now?
To get to
Oh man, back gameplay. Yo, the game is horrible. Of course he's gonna get it. Yo, this shit is horrible. You see how they auto-born?
Yeah.
You press it once, you're supposed to do it, man. I shouldn't go back
I have
again.
absolutely no idea. I guess it's from advertising.
Ads keeps the lights on and probably puts gas in my car at the end of the day.
All right, yeah, I think we might have to talk about that.
You can't adjust like that. You can't put them on like that.
Sweet.
All right. Ads. Why are there ads? 2 reasons. 1, ads keep search universally accessible. No paywalls, no subscriptions, no, you've used your last credit, want to buy a 50-pack? Just search that's free for everyone. And 2, ads help people who want to buy a thing find people who sell that thing. Like Bart here.
Hi.
And his employees. Hi. At Car Hardware in Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Yep, we sell 38,000 items.
Like weed whackers, tack hammers, wrenches, and M10 metric castle nuts.
I think the only thing we don't sell is milk and bread.
Bart buys ads on Google that only get shown when someone near their town
Pittsfield
searches, for instance, lawnmower dealers near me. And Google only gets paid if the person doing the search, maybe your neighbor or your brother-in-law, clicks on Bart's ad, which is always labeled ad. It helps people find mowers to buy, and it helps Bart and his store get business.
Have a nice day.
And it helps pay for all the stuff that keeps search and maps and docs working and free. That's why there are ads.
Since I've been in Google and worked on search for the last 14 years, I have to say that no one, absolutely no one comes to me and says, I did this search and the results were great. Nobody says this. They only call to complain that they did something and it didn't work.
And the name of the man who's been collecting Google's dumbest search mistakes for the last 14 years? Senior software engineer, Eric Lehman.
Eric, I'll take one marker.
Over the years, I've been gathering some of my favorite bloopers. I'll sort of walk you through some of those. So, how far from the coast is Cambridge, Massachusetts? It's actually a little over 3,000 miles from the West Coast. How many calories in 330 tons of butter? So this caused an overflow error, and we said about -2 billion.
B1 CTC.
What color is green? That's a tough one.
Don't think he's not gonna call a timeout. He's gonna call a timeout right now after this play.
Search meat nutrition facts. We brought all kinds of detailed information. I think it's quite good. The query is a little ambiguous because it doesn't say what kind of meat, and so the system chose roasted muskrat.
Come on, B1.
Yeah. Avogadro's number is a sort of important constant in chemistry. It's also apparently the name of a restaurant, and so we've given a lot of chemistry students their phone number. Is that what you're shooting for, or? Okay.
Since you started watching, people have done over 100 million searches. Enough results to fill 27 libraries. But none as cool as this one. This is the Weston Library on Oxford's campus. 2 buildings down, you'll find the office of Dr. John Paul Gabriel, a professor of early modern history. He specializes in the history of information and archives. Suffice to say, he's an expert on this stuff.
It used to be, before, say, 16th or 17th century, that if you were reading a manuscript copied by someone, perhaps someone you knew, perhaps someone who you didn't know, but they were...
Let's go! Let's go! That's right! First down!
You were reading.
First down, B1! First down, B1! Huh? CTC! B1 CTC! Huh? You going on YouTube? Look up Megatron, Isaac Santana.
Because, for example, if we don't know who printed it, well then what should we think about this information?
Come on, B1!
If there's an error in the printed word, then everyone will get it wrong. So we look now actually at the print revolution, which we used to think